I'm Rhonda Gutierrez, Instructional Coordinator at Bosque Redondo Memorial at Fort Sumner Historic Site. Today, we're going to make hardtack. And hardtack was, as the name implies, it was a hard biscuit. It was made of flour, salt, and water, and it was meant to stand up to travel, so be able to carry on, the soldier could carry it with them, and it could last without refrigeration or other storage. They refer to this as teeth dullers or sheet iron, and sometimes as worm castles. So so it doesn't sound terribly appetizing, but to kind of get an idea of what it was like, we decided we're going to go ahead and make some here today. Now the recipe that I'm going to use came out of the old Army cookbook, and I'm not going to quite do a full, I'm going to half the recipe. So the full recipe calls for 4 cups of flour, 4 teaspoons of salt, and water. So what I'm going to do is make it about half. So I got 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, and it just says water. Now, so I've just got some extra water, and we'll just kind of mix. And it looks like you're going to mix more with hands. So let me start with this one. Let's start with the fork, and then very quickly on the 2. So make sure your hands are clean. So 2 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of salt. Mix it. Now, when you go to put water in dough, you don't want to just pour it in. You're going to slowly add it and continually mix. And the recipe said not to use, when it came to water, not to exceed 2 cups. So I figure 1 cup would be equivalent. And one thing out here in Pecos River Valley, it's very dry. It's a dry May day, so it may take a little bit more water or less water. It just kind of depends. You just don't want it sticky. More water, maybe. You can see what's sticking to my fingers. That means definitely enough moist, enough moist. But I got enough loose flour at the bottom of my bowl. And once I can mix up with the loose flour, it should start to peel off my hands, and that's what it's doing. Good little workout. And keep rolling it. I'm using a glass bowl that says you can see, kind of see through, so you can see what it's doing. And you can tell it's still a little sticky to the fingers, but not too bad. Maybe a little bit too much water. Alrighty. So now we've got a dough ball for this. And we need an additional amount of flour. Sprinkle it on your surface. So once you have it out of your bowl and you're ready to kind of work it, and make sure it's well incorporated. You may need a little extra flour to put on your surface so that you can roll it out and it won't stick. But if you got it the right consistency, it will not stick. So you can add a little flour until you get to that consistency. Alrighty. surface here. I'm going to try to pat this down a little bit to make it kind of rectangular and flour the surface of that. Yeah, it's not sticky, so that's the right amount of flour. Gluten's in the wheat doing its thing. Now the recipe said about a 1/2 inch thick, so we want to make sure we don't get it too thin, because we don't want a cracker. We want a consistency a little bit thicker than a cracker, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Now the recipe book, make sure it's consistently thick. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, now what I did was, in order to keep it, I got a little piece of paper that's a 3x3, so that way I can kind of mark it. Now you can do a couple of different things to cut it. You use a knife, you use a pizza cutter. So I'm going to use a combination. I've got a little edge here that I can mark. So we're going to kind of do here. Mark my 3-inch. I don't even need the pizza cutter. This may just do it. Check. Yep. That's close enough. Little extras. Now, when you get yours, all these cut, you're going to need something. What I got here is just kind of a chopstick. So it's just something with a kind of something you can poke. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to put like 16 pokes per square. So 4 down, 4 across. So I'll just kind of go 1, 2. Now the point of the poking these holes all the way through, and you kind of want to make sure it goes all the way through, is that when you cook this, you don't want it to poof up. The idea was it to stay flat. So you're going to get kind of a I'll take pictures. So keep on going. Now this one's on the edge because they're curved. I don't imagine I'll get all 16 holes, but that's interesting too, but the choice of 2 cups instead of 4 cups is, for one, you don't need that many, but also that wasn't a usual ration. So now we're ready for the baking. Now, the recipe says to bake a preheated oven at 375 degrees and bake for 30 minutes, and then turn each piece over and bake for another 30 minutes until the tack should be slightly brown on both sides. Hardtack came out and cooled, and so here we have it. You can see it's kind of a lightly toasted color both sides. So let's see, how does this work? Okay, so it's thick. And hard. Okay, so this definitely, okay, chew on this thing. Definitely hard. Well, from the stories, of soldiers, they would often carry this with them. Like I said, they had different names for it. They called it jawbreaker, and they also called it worm castles, because worms would find a way, because I mean this would preserve. And in fact, there was a museum who, and I can't remember which museum it was, but there was a museum who found some hardtack had some hardtack from the Civil War period, and they found that it was still would have been edible had it been rehydrated. So it definitely preserves. But the soldiers would say that oftentimes they would take it and they would use it with their coffee. So they would kind of use the coffee to soften. That's how this works. Softening it helps. So, it definitely does not have a sweet flavor. In fact, you can taste the water and you can taste the salt. But it would have provided a lot of nutrition for the soldiers at the time. Easy to make. It can be stored for a very long time, so it's definitely something that was part of the soldier's toolkit and part of his saddlebag. So, give it a shot. Try your own hardtack. And for expansion activity, there is a recipe and lesson for Slim Fast coffee. Slim Fast coffee was something that was made by the Navajo who, prior to coming to the fort, did not use things like flour or coffee, but had to create things using them. So you can see the recipe, and if you want to give it a try, you can try that as well. So there you have it. All right, thank you.